what I do want to do, there we go, just taking my time here. I do want to talk about something else that's happening that didn't get a whole lot of attention. And you may have noticed it. Nancy Pelosi. Nancy Pelosi is in the news because she's talking about, and you'll see this is an article from Newsweek on today, April 16th, came out this morning at 5:31. Nancy Pelosi yesterday was at an event. And when she was at the event, she decided that she wanted to talk about the ease of the election and what she thought, and this is mostly in reference to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, but also for her district as well, about Democrats winning the election in 2018, the midterm elections. And what does this mean for 2020? And the thing that really struck me is Nancy Pelosi says, but there are those districts that are solidly Democratic. This glass of water would win with a D next to its name in those districts. Really? Really? And she's saying, this is not to diminish the exuberance and the personality of Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez or any candidate. But in fact, you have to say, yeah, she is. I mean, I'll let you hear exactly what she had to say. Oops. Or maybe I won't. No, it's not going. Okay. Don't know. Oh, that's why. The sound is off. Try that again.
You're referencing a comment because, and when we won this election, it wasn't in districts like mine or Alexandria's. However, she's a wonderful member of Congress. I think all of our colleagues will attest. But those are districts that are solidly Democratic. This glass of water would win with a D next to its name in those districts. And not to diminish the exuberance and the personality and the rest of Alexandria and the other members. But when I said three, they were talking about three that were getting a good deal of press on it. But the 43 districts, we won 43, net gain of 40, were right down the middle, mainstream, hold the center victories.
Okay, so let me get back into this. So I wanted to give you context on that so you could hear exactly how she said it and how the crowd reacted. They thought it was a joke. It's funny that they believe, that Nancy Pelosi, apparently the leadership of the Democratic Party, and more importantly, that audience, when someone says that if you have a strong Democratic district, it doesn't matter the quality or the content of any candidate, that just because they have a D after their name, that they're going to win. That is insulting. If I was a member of the Democratic Party, which I'm happy to say I'm not, but if I had been, or anybody was in a party and they were told that you are the equivalent of a glass of water, you are as dumb as a glass of water, that you have no more intelligence and you have no more, they have no more concern or respect for you than an inanimate object, that you are going to be a zombie and you are going to vote your party line just because that's what the party expects, that is insulting. And it's not insulting just to Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, who it is obviously directed against. And she can say, oh, that's not the say. Yes, it is. Yes, it is. You're directly insulting Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, which is fine. I think she is as dumb as a glass of water, and probably an empty glass as well. But that's besides the point. That's a personal viewpoint based on commentary and her actions so far. But that's not important. What is important is she completely discounts and nullifies the voters. The fact that she believes that the Democratic voters have no knowledge about what they're doing. They are zombies. They will vote the way they are told to vote because they are Democrats, period. If you are black, if you are a woman, if you are gay, I would seriously ask you that, does that represent you? That you vote Democrat because you're no smarter than a glass of water. Because that's, and again, that's not me saying it. That's what Nancy Pelosi said. Okay? And you can go to the article in Newsweek, which is, and the entire title of that article, just so you can look it up. And I have it on the screen for those watching the show. Nancy Pelosi, glass of water could take districts like Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez's. That's not where we have to win the election. Okay. And so again, this is Newsweek reporting this today. I'm not saying that Democrats are the same as a glass of water, that you have no intelligence. I don't believe that. I talk to rank and file Democrats on a regular basis. And I don't believe that's the truth. But it is a statement about the Democratic Party that information is useless. Thought, conversation, that the Democratic Party has moved so far to the left that any kind of question, any kind of thought is useless. It's totally wasted on Democratic voters. So this explains why we hear so much from the Democratic Party that they don't care. They don't care. And they treat you by result. You know, the result is that you're totally disenfranchised. You have no worth. And that's probably why they do whatever they want in New York State, as an example, which is a Democratic-held single-party state at the moment. And they're passing laws like the plastic bag law. They're going to abortion and post-abortion, post-birth abortion. Not that because Democrat members want it, because they're just expecting you're going to do what you're told. And thus, Governor Cuomo got a fourth term. Not because he values Democratic principles, but because he said so. And he's a Democrat. He's the Democratic leadership. And minions, which are the rank and file Democrats, will vote and do what they're told. That's what Nancy Pelosi's saying. And I really feel bad for rank and file Democrats. If you're a rank and file Democrat, I really hope you're offended by this from your own leadership. But that's another thing. But let me move on. I want to talk a little bit about, and we've got a couple minutes here. I want to prep what we're going to be talking about with Dan Was. And Dan Was is, obviously, I want to talk to him about the red flags. He's here in New York. We have the red flag legislation, which is meant to restrict and punish people who are Democrats, people who are gun owners and legal gun owners. 99.999% of them are legal gun owners, have no problems. And yet, they're out there being punished because they're exercising their Second Amendment rights. We're listening to members of the Democratic Party, the 2020 nominees. We're hearing people talk about how they want to take away the Second Amendment, that they want to take away people's rights to defend themselves, to defend their homes, to defend their families, that they're telling us that, don't worry, the government will protect you. A government that hasn't been able to do anything right in the 51 years of my life. Point to any department of the government and tell me, besides the IRS and sometimes the military, name something else the government knows how to do well. Because I can't name it. Let's think of Obama's term. The IRS scandal, the VA scandal. I mean, we've got scandals all over the place. And this isn't just with his administration. It happens with all administrations, but I'm just highlighting a couple of big ones. Benghazi. Let's point out these issues. We didn't kill Osama bin Laden under President Clinton, and thus we had 9/11 under President Bush. These are really important issues. And I don't care that Representative Omar thinks it's somebody did something. No, it's very specific. Fanatics, religious fanatics, killed Americans. They happen to be Islamic religious fanatics, and they killed nearly 3,000 Americans. That's not just something. But we also know that we have mass shootings that happen. And we know that very often these mass shootings are resolved faster with fewer injuries because there's a good person who has a firearm and is able to defend the innocent. And I want to talk to Dan about this and see where his thoughts are and what he thinks of the 2020 candidates and their views of punishing people for having a gun. And especially in light of the fact that Nancy Pelosi believes that Democratic voters are no smarter than a glass of water, and that they'll go ahead and say, yes, the Second Amendment, get rid of it, because Nancy Pelosi says so, because Chuck Schumer said so, because the candidates for president are saying so. These are all great questions, and I'm going to ask Dan about that, as well as many other things. And I hope you find it interesting. And of course, we are looking in the chat room. We're looking across Facebook to see what you think and to keep you up to date. But first, we're going to take a quick break, and then we'll be right back. And I should have Dan on the phone at that time. So I look forward to it. I'll talk to you soon.